meeting is being recorded.
Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I'm your host, Mary Ann Petrie. I have a return guest on. Her name is Antonella Giovanna. The last time she was on Slam the Gavel was September 8th, 2022. She was season 3, episode 102, and she is a mom and former dental assistant as for many years, and now works in a school as a teacher's assistant in support for children with special needs. However, suddenly she was called mentally ill by an extreme corrupt family court. The judge is Sheri Eisenpress, and she doesn't have good press herself. There was an article written on July 6, 2016 by Lee Higgins and Jonathan Bandler in the Journal News, Rockland judge tied to FBI sting. And apparently in this article, an FBI informant at the center of the political corruption probe that brought down the former state Senate Majority Leader says he helped elect Rockland Family Court Judge Sheri Eisenpress by using her money to bankroll an illegal campaign finance scheme by bribing a public official. An investigation by the Journal News found. So Antonella is dealing with this judge who is also a gatekeeper. And I welcome you back to the show, Antonella. I'm very sorry you're going through this. And
Thank you.
Yes, and I know you have some updates for us, so I will let you speak.
Okay, yeah, no, I believe where we left off, unfortunately, it's been a struggle. It's been a battle. My children have been brought into this mess, and unfortunately, the courts are, using this to, to make money. My children are, unfortunately have become psychologically abused by this judge, by the court, by any professionals that were brought into my case, which were many people that they brought in, a lot of people that work very closely with the judge or some of the attorneys. And unfortunately, they what happens, especially when you're dealing with a case like mine, who my ex, makes a lot of money, has a very high income and is able to afford to drag this in the court, and has the connections that he does. And what happens is then, someone like me who, was just going in to get a divorce, and co-parent and try to make this process as, as amicable as possible for my children. That was my main concern, and the courts always say the best interest of the children, the best interest of the children. Mm-hmm. That's not true. They're not there for the best interest for the children. Mm-mm. They are there for the best interest for themselves and how they're going to make, they make more money doing this than dealing with the criminals in the, dealing with criminal cases. When you're in Supreme Court, I'm in Supreme Court. I'm not in family court. It's a Supreme Court matrimonial matter. Supreme Court is a little different, and you're paying out a lot of money. In family, you can get, you can apply for 18B, counsel, the AFCs, the court appointed attorneys for the children, can go through 18B, which is, free counsel through the state, which is, that's another thing we could talk about, how, the state, the taxes we pay, is, through the state. That's where our money is going, for these people to use this, battle, and, all this money is going to the court. And so if you don't have the money and you don't have the fight and you don't have the right connections, you can end up in a bad situation. And that's sort of what happened with me, because I didn't have any knowledge of anything about corruption. I just thought, oh, the justice system is here to protect us, protect the children, to be fair, to make things, go smoothly. They're supposed to be our mediator. They're supposed to, make sure things go smoothly, make sure that we follow the law, make sure no, absolutely
Mm-mm.
not. It took me, unfortunately, 3 years to even figure it out. It was almost like my case was so calculated. And it was like my ex-husband was so prepared. He had prepared this years before, we decided to move forward with the divorce. You know, he also would have had to pay me a lot of money on child support. And that was something he did not want to do. And
Mhm.
that's a big thing for people who, have to pay child support. I was a stay-home mom over 10 years. I raised my kids. My kids were happy, they were healthy, no history of mental illness, no history of child abuse. And in fact, up until, my children were removed out of my custody, they were perfectly happy and healthy. They had no issues. Um, and now, you know, it, and now their life has been completely turned upside down. And, they don't deserve this.
No.
Children don't deserve this. Um, Not to bring this case up, but I've been following, and I have a lot of friends, a lot of advocates. You meet a lot of people following that Valva story. That poor boy that got murdered.
Mm.
It was
Yeah.
interesting. One of my friends posted something that this guy, the father, who murdered the boy, has three court-appointed attorneys representing him. Not one, but three. How is
Mm.
that even possible? This is a criminal, a guy who and I can't even get represented. I was denied. The judge denied me free representation because it got to a point where any assets that I was even able to, to get from this marriage, which, I was home, so I got some assets. Um, I was court ordered to pay everyone off. That all that money's gone. So when the judge decided from a contempt motion that my ex-husband filed a contempt motion that, I was not able to respond to this contempt motion, the judge is like, okay, I'm gonna schedule a new trial. I'm changing custody, just like that. She felt like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
gonna just change custody, even though it was an agreement of a 50-50 joint legal. Um, a contempt motion that there was no findings to put me in contempt, no evidence, no findings. At that point, that's like how many years later, at that point, I I didn't really have the money for proper representation.
Mm-mm.
And I was forced to represent myself pro se. I'm not an attorney.
Mhm.
I'm not a lawyer. And how do you get prepared for a trial without even notice of scheduling a trial? You know what I'm saying? I wasn't prepared. And then what they do is they sort of throw all this stuff at you. So so you try to focus on one thing and you're like, okay, I need to focus on this. And then all of a sudden all this stuff is coming at you. And the judge decides to sign the judgment of divorce and she's doing this. And then you try to go through the appellate court. Don't think they're on your side because
Yeah.
they're working behind the scenes with the judge.
Exactly.
I had an appeal pending right now. The appellate court is trying to dismiss my case. I had everything. I had everything on point with deadlines. I did ask for, you're allowed to ask for extensions 2 or 3 times, and then sometimes depending, then you have to file a motion if depending how many times you file for an extension. And I had everything, and because I wanted to litigate this pro se and have a oral argument, be able to present this and have this oral argument. I filed a motion to litigate pro se, and that motion was pending, and I missed my deadline. And then they were telling me, well, now we're going to try to dismiss the appeal, and I'm like, what? No. And then you have to go through all this process, try to file, to vacate that. It's a whole process. But
Mhm.
the appellate court doesn't even make it easy for you. And then the chances to even win an appeal is very slim. And then unfortunately it's like once decisions are made, because judges have immunity, and they have such power, it's very hard to change that. It's almost like people tell you, oh, you'll just wait until your kids turn 18. Ugh,
Ugh.
my son's 9. I don't want to wait that long. I don't want to lose my memories. I don't want to lose my time with my kids. I don't,
Mhm.
for what? You don't think my child, so now, my child has to adapt to a certain, way of living without his mother because that's what the judge says, regardless, disregarding my son's, decision or wishes. I mean, my daughter wrote letters to the judge.
Mm.
My daughter asked her AFC, please file something in the court. I need to talk to her, please. Why is this happening? This shouldn't be
Mhm.
happening. My daughter's 13 and a half years old now. At the time when this whole thing started, when it all started, she was 11, 10, 11 years old. And even then she was very verbal about it. And, you know, my children, it's one thing when there's cases that I hear that the children become so manipulated
Mhm.
that the abusive parent that has custody of the child will actually believe that their parent act the protective parent, the targeted parent was actually the abuser. They'll make them believe that, and
Oh, yes.
sometimes, and you'd be surprised at what ages that can, it could be a 9-year-old, it depends on, the child, how
Mhm.
much they've been so manipulated by the parent. The child starts to believe it, and the only way they'll make that parent happy and not, abuse them, my ex, could be very verbally abusive, they'll just go along with it, or they'll deal with it. But my kids were not even saying that. My children were saying, mom never hurt us, mom never yells at us, like mom never verbally abusive.
Mhm.
Why are you doing this? And there was these paid therapists and forensic, we've gotten forensic evaluations done more than once, and I'm paying them. I was forced to pay them, and I'm paying them, and they are being forced to tell the child, well, too bad, you know well, this is just how it is, or your mom just needs to do this, or one I'm trying to think now. One I think it was my daughter's AFC. She said, just stop, just deal with it, or you're going to end up in foster care, because
Oh, no.
the judge wasn't going to allow me to. The judge made up her mind, even though I was the protective parent. I was the parent that they knew they were safe. They were safe with. But because the judge was like, well, don't think just because you don't want to be with your dad, they're going to have you stay with mom. We're going to put you in foster care. These are things that my children were being told. More my daughter, because my daughter had more of a, was able to communicate more with her AFC. My son's attorney did nothing. She was communicating mainly with the father, which that shouldn't even be happening.
Exactly.
That's sort of what happens. They do a lot of these little behind the scenes, calling on the phone, and I've learned to write everything,
Right,
write
and
everything. Don't.
no way should a judge be threatening a 13-year-old with foster care.
Well, it was the AFC that was saying stuff like that.
Oh,
Like,
sorry.
the judge, yeah, it was the therapists that were involved, the AFCs, they were saying things just to kind of say, just to shut her up, like kind of scare her. That's what they do. They try to say things, and then these poor kids, they're so vulnerable. They're like, oh, they believe it. They're like, okay, I got to be quiet. I can't say anything. My daughter was trying to was asking for help in the schools, and my ex would call up the therapist there, the school guidance counselors, and just say, oh, she's doing it for attention. Just send her back to class. Just ignore her. Just ignore her. Let me tell you something. If a child, pediatricians, therapists, school counselors, if a child's saying no, I don't care if it's physical or verbal abuse. Abuse is abuse. Verbal
Mhm.
abuse is just as bad. Unfortunately, though, they don't take it as serious because it's not physical, visual abuse. It
Right.
is abuse that is internal. Internal abuse can damage the body just as bad, and it can cause long-term damage,
Mhm.
like mentally.
Mhm.
That my daughter is talking about killing herself. You think that's okay? You may think, oh, she's just saying that. But what if one day she gets to such a deep depression and she does something to herself? what do you do? It's just not right, So,
Well, you know,
these are
just,
things that I don't
you
think
know,
people realize that,
mhm.
how how bad, how bad it is for the children, what the courts are doing, even just the abusive parent, because they're not thinking about the child, they're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about maybe the abusive parent wants to hurt the other parent, and how the court can just go along with it and use these poor children. It's just sad. And then you hear other things. You hear about like what's happening with me with the gatekeeper. Preventing me from even. Hello.
I'm here. I can hear you. You kind of got muffled.
Yeah, let me know if because
It's better.
sometimes the connection. But let me know if I get okay. Now I lost my train of thought.
Oh, you're talking about
Oh,
the
the
courts,
gatekeeper.
gatekeeper.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so then it got to the point when I tried filing a petition, and I'm sure I mentioned this in the last podcast. I filed one petition, just addressing my daughter. I was getting messages that she wants to hurt herself, and this is a way of the judge controlling me and controlling the situation, and she files gatekeepers. Then you got my ex-husband who filed numerous motions, and that was okay. And I know for our constitutional rights, we are allowed to file as many motions as we want
Hmm.
to to fight, and to protect our constitutional rights, our rights as parents, our rights as citizens. So for a judge, and then you hear stories about a gala, what was it, gala or whatever, when there's like those court appointed attorneys to control your
Gals.
finances.
Yeah.
Gals,
Oh,
yeah.
guardians.
Guardians. Okay, thankfully, I didn't. The way she hurt me financially was by court ordering me to pay for things. But then there's those gals, whatever, that when I guess with people that have a lot of money, then they have an attorney to control you that way. So and that's how they control everything. That's how they um, prevent a protective parent to even try to fight for their rights. Unfortunately, this judge, she off the record, a lot of times she would say things off the record, or take me behind chambers, and start saying these inappropriate things.
Hmm.
Basically telling my ex, oh, tell Mr. Whatever. I don't want to say the last name. I get nervous, but I gotta try to. I'm giving you permission to tell your kids that their mother doesn't want to see them anymore. So okay, so let's now tell the children that I'm abandoning them. Let's make them believe. Let's manipulate the situation more, because right now, I am very limited, to even have any access to the children. So then what do you say? Why mommy's not around? Oh, just tell them their mom doesn't want to see them. Their mom abandoned them. Let's just lie, and let's let these poor kids think, that, their parent doesn't want to be around them. I thought we had our rights. I thought we had rights to be able to, I can go to court, and I have the right to see my children. I thought, no, that's not the case. They're not there for, to protect, parents' rights or anything. They're
Hmm.
just, so
No, in fact, criminals have
unfortunately.
more rights than family court
Oh
parents.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's exactly what's happening, and it's unfortunate. I believe that allowing all this corruption and all of this to happen is allowing abuse to continue. It's
Hmm.
allowing it's allowing these abusers to be able to feel entitled and to continue their abuse, on the if it's on the child, or if it's on the other parent.
Hmm.
Whatever happened to domestic violence, cases that we're here to protect, you know innocent victims. It's not
Definitely.
even, it doesn't exist anymore.
And about this judge, apparently 6 years ago, people were signing a petition to remove her from the bench. And then
Yes,
suddenly all along comes Andrew Cuomo, who
a big supporter of
endorses
hers.
her.
Yeah,
He endorses her for what,
yeah,
Supreme Court judge?
mhm, yeah. Apparently he denied that petition too, from my understanding from reading the article. But obviously, if someone, put together that petition, that's now probably close to 6 years. Um, there was obvious that, she must have, she definitely wasn't um, a judge that people would want to,
Mhm,
have in their community. Because, you know, I don't even know if at the time she was just family. I know she's elected as family, like I've spoken about, but she's an active Supreme Court judge. So she's in Supreme Court. So she's dealing with not just family, matrimonial cases, civil, criminal, So
mhm.
yeah, it's unfortunate. Now I don't know, unfortunately I do know a few victims of Eisenpress, and a lot of people don't want to say anything. They either don't they're traumatized. They don't want to, you know, uh, relive that the horror that they went through in court, in family court, spring, matrimonial court, or um, so a lot of people are silenced, and that's what happens. They silence the children. They make them so, they're so scared. They traumatize the other, the targeted parent, that, you know, they're very, they don't, they walk away. They don't, they silence them. And so
Mhm.
people don't address that, this needs to stop. Unfortunately, it's happening all over the world, all over the
Mhm.
states. I've met so many people from all over every state. And it's just happening all the time, all over.
Yeah, and for
Yeah.
this judge to put your children through this stress, she's evil. She's pure
I
evil.
know. I think about my children's future. People say children are resilient.
Mm-mm.
I don't know how resilient they are. I think this is going to affect them for the rest of their lives. These children had such a happy life. My marriage wasn't happy, and unfortunately, we dealt with a lot. When we were all, I was married, but I made sure I protected my kids. I made sure that I sheltered them from the bad that was happening in my marriage with my ex. The verbal abuse and all that. I tried doing the best way I could. I tried making their life so happy, and they were so happy. I protected them, and I was hoping, going, out of the marriage, that I was able to continue that, and really make this. I was like, okay, I got this. I can make, they'll be traumatized with the divorce, but I can still make, and then all of a sudden they're brought into this corruption, this abuse. And I'm like, they don't deserve this, you know, not no child.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, some kids it ends up death. There's death,
Mhm.
they're murdered. I mean, what else? How much more can we speak up? How much more? Like, I don't understand, and it's happening all the time. You think like, oh, you know, a case like, the Valva case. Okay, now maybe there'll be some change. No, it's like, okay, on to the next.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. They don't care. It's like, they don't,
Now they're not
yeah.
valuing our future at
No,
all.
our children's future. Our children are our future. Like, we, like, no, they're not valuing like their mental state. Like they're gonna have to live with this for the rest of their life, of their experience. Um, my daughter has lost trust, you know, in police officers. She has lost trust in therapists. She has lost trust in teachers, the school, counselors, people that she thought are supposed to be there to protect her, to support her. She's lost trust in the judge, in the
Mhm.
attorneys. I mean, I feel bad. Like, no one should have to live like that, that can't trust people and can't, and almost live a life of like survive. She's surviving. She's dealing with this. She's trying
Mhm.
to cope with this. She's all by herself.
Mhm.
She doesn't have a therapist. My ex-husband won't take her to a therapist. And if she does go to a therapist, it's someone that he works with, someone that he hired, someone that his attorney hired, someone that, the judge hires. It's not even someone that's there to actually help her or protect her or, support her or, guide her through this. No, you know, that's what it is. So she starts to lose trust in people, and now she doesn't have anyone. And I feel bad. It's hard because, I'm on the other side and I can't do anything about it right now. I can't help her. I can't protect her. She can't call me and say, Mom, I'm sad. Mom, please help. Nothing. I can't do anything.
Mhm.
I can't be there for her. My son as well. He's young. My daughter is like, a teenager. So, they start going through their puberty, and they want their mom, or they want,
Mhm.
it's very unfortunate. They shouldn't deserve this. This is what, that upsets me is that,
Mhm. Well,
you know,
in 2014, the APA wrote an article saying that child psychological abuse was worse than physical and sexual abuse combined. And if these judges would read that article, maybe they'd make better decisions if they're
well,
able to.
yeah, they say that, judges should take some special courses, psychology courses, just, they're attorneys. They were attorneys before they were judges. So they only know like law and but when you're dealing with family court, family, children, abuse, if it's physical, psychological, if it's emotional abuse, if it's verbal, whatever it is, I mean, there's a lot that entails in all that.
Mhm.
You can't just pick anyone to be a judge, and God, they see so many cases. Every case is different, so you have to be able to. They should be trained to, and then what do they do? They rely on the professionals, right? Well,
Mm.
there's professionals that work with this one judge, and so they're only gonna follow what the judge wants or what the judge, but every professional is different. You can go to one therapist and then another therapist might say, no, I disagree with that. I see this, or I see, so yeah, it really entails a lot with family court and when you're dealing with families. But if a judge or the court doesn't take it to that extreme, you could kind of, there's a way of figuring it out. There's a way, you know what I'm saying? Like, unfortunately, like I said, they take it to a different level. They're not there. They're there to make it's all corruption. They're just there to make money. It's not, and yeah, and unfortunately, you're right. It's psychological abuse can be just as worse, can be worse than, um, physical and whatever.
Mhm.
So,
Eh,
you know,
you
what
know,
do you do?
you other than reporting them to whoever, your state reports attorneys to or judges to, you'll get this namby-pamby letter back about it wasn't unethical enough. Well, you know what you should do is wait a couple more weeks and send them another letter stating you would like this case reopened on this attorney because of this, this, and this, and be more specific of your complaints. Even on the judge, keep
Yes,
complaining.
right. Well, I mean, that's all you can really do. I know I've met with pro se litigants, and you talk to people, you talk, and everyone has. Yeah, I mean, what all you can really do is, you know, you just keep fighting, you just keep going, you learn the law, you get the facts, you show them the um, you know what has happened, what's happening, as far as even the children to modify custody or whatever it is. That's all you can really do is just keep, you know, I tried doing that though. Like I said, I've gotten reevaluated because they kept saying, oh, they really didn't have much on me. I didn't drink really. I didn't go out. I didn't get in trouble with the law. I wasn't abusive. I was very involved with, my children's, with the school. I organized, stuff if it was, PTA, Girl Scout, whatever, you name it. I did it all for the kids. I took them, I traveled with them. I did a lot. I took care of them. And so what did my ex have to say? Oh, I alienated the children. He was never around. He traveled, he worked, he was focused on, there was other stuff going on I'm not even going to get into. And, what did they have on me? So, oh, she's mentally ill. Okay. She's not stable. She's mentally ill, whatever. I got reevaluated numerous times. I mean, I spent money on that, like just finding, the most reputable forensic evaluators. I was just, they had no findings of mental illness. Tried giving it to the judge. You think she took any of my, any evidence? Nothing,
No.
So I could just, I could keep, I could do it. I could keep filing. Like I said, I filed a petition, for, to address a few things about my daughter. And what did she do? She filed a gatekeeper, and that's where the challenge comes, is when they block you from trying to fight. And they wanted to get, they want to drag it. They want to get to a point where you stop. But I won't stop. I won't stop. So, yeah.
No, and you have to persevere. You have to just keep persevering. Because if you stop, then he's going to tell the kids, "Oh, look, she gave up on you."
He's already told. Yeah, he's already told the kids. I live in a small community. I have, who knows what the community thinks of me right now. I don't care. I know my truth. I know that I'm trying to do everything I can. Unfortunately, when you have so many, these restrictions and these orders put in place, you have to be very careful because, my ex can turn around and try to use it to his advantage to try to put me in jail or get arrested or, I know, how many times he tried getting me arrested. He asked the judge to, I've gotten threats. I'm going to put you in jail. I'm going to put you in jail. I'm going to put you in jail. For what? On what grounds? Like what? I didn't commit a crime. The only crime in your eyes I might be committing is trying to be a parent to my child. Other than that, I'm not harassing the guy. I'm not following him. I'm not showing up at his house. I could care less. My goal is I want to see my kids. I want to be with my kids. I want to be a parent. So you're going to put me in jail for trying to see my child? That's crazy. That's not a crime. You should be happy that I want to see my kid. There's those poor kids that, it's unfortunate there's other situations, but I don't see how that's a crime or that's so bad. And then there's those parents that go through supervised visits, right? So you get supervised visits, that's how they also get you. They try to start with these supervised visits. They try to extend it. That's, you have to pay money, pay a lot of money if you buy, get a private paid supervisor. Then you have all these, good reports. Doesn't matter. You think they're looking at that? They're not looking at that. Legally, they tried. So the judge, the court is supposed to say, okay, we're not gonna look like we're completely isolating the parent, right? So they allow these supervised visits. They allow these, if it's even 2 hours a month, once a month, which is crazy. Come on. But that's how they get you too, because they're saying, okay, well, we're not, violating anything because we're allowing the parent to see the child, but we're putting all these restrictions and and all these, so they have to be supervised and we're going to just say it's once a month. What are you doing to the child? What is the child thinking? The child doesn't know. For all the child knows is, oh, my parent wants to see, my dad or mom wants to see me once a month. And then what if something comes up and that day comes up and you can't see your child because if the child's sick or you're sick, good luck trying to get, makeup time or, then you have to wait another month to see your child.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's unfortunate, I never thought I would have to go through this or my kids would have to go through this, but you never know in life. So,
No.
but like, yeah. So, like I
Yeah,
said,
I
all you
mean
have to do is just keep going and fighting and
yeah, I mean, I never knew this was gonna happen to me either. Sometimes advocacy chooses you.
yeah.
And, so here we are today warning other people about this judge and what can happen to
Yes,
you
and
in family
warning
court.
people, yes, that,
Mhm.
you may think you're going in thinking this is gonna be an amicable because that's what my ex-husband tried doing
Mhm,
at one
mhm,
point. He would come to me and he would cry, he would make me feel like, oh, but what he was trying to do was he was trying to make me vulnerable again, and he was trying to prevent certain things to happen. There was a
mhm.
point where my daughter was saying, "No, like, no, I can't, I'm having a hard time being around my dad." And her AFC was supposed to interview, she was still in elementary school at the time, speak to the school psychologist. And then once my ex knew that was happening, I'll never forget it. He came home because we're still living together. And he was crying to me. And he's like, I think we should just try to figure this out. Let's try to be amicable. And I was like, yeah, great. That's what I want. I'm like, this is great. We don't have to drag this in court. We can be
Mhm.
amicable. And I remember we had like this nesting arrangement. And I remember, he wanted to see the kids during my time, and I allowed it. He wouldn't allow me to see the kids during his time, though. He would threaten me to put me in jail. He'd say, but I allowed it, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to be, And then all of a sudden, he then hits me and comes at me with something just like that, without, and then prevents for certain things to happen, um, and that was what was happening. I never got a chance to give my story, give my evidence. And then when it got to a point where I tried, it was denied. The judge would deny anything, any evidence, anything, any supporting letters from I was forced to see a therapist. I was seeing my therapist. He was writing very good supporting letters. Yeah, she wouldn't allow anything for me,
Y
to look like, that I'm not this, a bad parent or mentally ill or whatever you want to say. I mean, if I was
I know
mentally
these
ill, I wouldn't be able to hold a job. I wouldn't be able to,
Right, right.
like, I don't know. I work with children. I mean, those,
Yes, yeah.
they, I do, yeah. So,
They can't have it both ways. They can't call you mentally ill and then here you're holding this job.
yeah. And I dental assisted for years, and I worked with patients and God, I worked with all, at one point I was like working for an oral surgeon and
Mhm.
endodontist. I mean, all doing I mean, I don't know. I was I worked well with people. I raised my kids. I mean, there was no one ever said I was mentally, there was never, but like I said, they have to find something on you, and then they all stick with it. They
Mhm.
all of them. um so then, to win the case, to prevent me from being the good, good parent or involved, be involved with my children. So
Mhm. Well,
uh
my friend Dr. Lynn Steinberg, she wrote the book, You're Not Crazy. I think every parent should read this.
I got to read that book.
Yes, and it
Yeah,
involves,
seriously.
like, how your kids are handling things. She's excellent. She is, she's excellent. Excellent book. Because, when you go in there, they're gaslighting you, and they're trying to make you
Yes,
think that you're
yes,
second guessing yourself,
they tried doing
and
that with me. Yes, and there was a point where, I was second guessing myself. I was like, what? It's all mental.
yes.
Like I said, I lived with a narcissist, so it was all everything was very mental. But yes, they do try to gaslight you. They try to get you, they try to silence you. When you try to, you have the right to defend yourself, then they say, no, stop. And then when you're like, no, I still have the right, they could just arrest you just like that. Like, oh, I'm putting you in jail. They try to get people. I have a friend, unfortunately, she's just, yeah, she was put in jail. She wanted to see her child, and her ex, I don't know what he like, there was like a warrant out for her arrest. She had no idea. That's another thing. There's these, they put these warrant out for your arrest. She had no idea. She went in to file a complaint about her ex-husband because he wasn't allowing her to see the child. So she was trying to, go through the courts to get access to the child. And then they tell her, well, there's a warrant out for your arrest, and they arrest her. She's been in jail. And then they tried doing that whole thing like with that woman Lizzie, oh,
Yes.
we have to evaluate you first before no, there is no bond, we're not, there's no bail, we're keeping you in jail. You have to be evaluated. This is like the new thing now. I don't know if it's a new thing or this is something they've always done. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm still learning. I'm still, learning all this, just how extreme it can get. And yeah, just like that, that's how they get you.
Mhm.
They gaslight you, and they get you to a position where you end up arrested, or you end up, having a mental breakdown. I mean, there's people that do, they will have the mental breakdown. um and then they could say, yeah, look, see, I told you she was crazy, or he was crazy, or whatever.
Mhm.
um yeah, we're humans. We're going to
Well,
react when it has to do with our children or our
mm,
life.
I think this has been going on. I think, in my opinion, and anyone can let me know if I'm wrong, but I think this has been going on even before the Victorian era. If a spouse
Yeah,
wasn't satisfied or they got bored in their marriage, they just put their ex into an insane asylum. Um,
right.
what was that book? It was a book,
I don't
I can't remember. Oh, oh,
I don't know. It's so
Charlotte
bad.
Bronte wrote it. Charlotte Bronte. I can't think
I
of the
was
name
gonna
of it.
say she's like
I have the DVD and I can't think of the name. But the guy, he married a woman that he did not know she was crazy, so he locked her upstairs in the mansion, and the maid took care of her. Oh, what is the name of this book? I'm so
wow.
ma
I have to. Oh, is it okay?
or
Is it
Emily
in the
Bronte,
Harmless
one of
Poet?
those.
Oh,
Was it Emily? Maybe it was Emily Bronte.
oh wow. I didn't. Oh, I got to read that. No,
I'm
that's
trying to find
interesting.
the title of the book. Let me this is so bad. I'm so bad. I apologize.
Emily Bronte quotes. I'm trying to think here.
Um,
Um, yeah. I
Emily
mean, there's some crazy. You hear these crazy stories on um with with stuff, things like this. That's crazy. I have to definitely read it though.
yes, it was not Wuthering Heights. That's not the one it was. I wanna tell you what it is. Maybe Charlotte wrote it. Let me see here. Jane Eyre. Hello, it was Jane Eyre.
Okay.
Eyre, Jane Eyre by Charlotte
Okay.
Bronte. But that's what he did, and so then
This is
Charlotte
like a
Bron
true story? Like
no,
this
he
really
she
happened?
no,
Or
she
is
wrote
this
it,
just, oh, she wrote a book. Okay.
but I'm sure this stuff was happening,
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
so he had a child with this woman, and he's telling everyone that the mother's dead. So
Mm-hmm.
then he hires this young woman to come in and take care of his daughter, and, tells her the story, and suddenly they start falling in love. Until they are at the altar, and one of her relatives from Spain or something comes over and says, "Oh no, they can't get married. This wife is still alive. She's still alive." And
Wow.
as it turned out, the maid left the door unlocked way upstairs in that
Mhm.
mansion, and um, the woman got out and she set the mansion on fire. and everybody
Mhm.
got out, and he was blinded from it. But that's how it ended. Is this young woman was still with
Yeah.
him, even though he was
Mhm.
blind, raising his
Mhm.
daughter.
Crazy. Yeah.
So I
I
think
definitely,
I think
I would love
it's
I
been
have
going
to read
on
that.
a long time.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess, I don't know if now, it might be a little worse. I mean, like I said, I had no idea, unless you go through it or you have a close family member, friend that's going through it, you don't really know
Mhm.
this actually happens. You think, I remember in the beginning when things started going really, turning for the worst, some people would say, well, what happened? What did you do? Like, did you do something? What did you do? Like, and I'm like, you know me. What do you think what did I do? Nothing. Like,
Right.
or like, then it got to a point where, they were saying, well, what did you do to piss off this judge? You got to get rid of this judge. What did you do to piss her off? And I'm like, nothing. My kids just want to live with me. My kids are unfortunately they're now, expressing, what has happened, while we throughout the marriage, and how they
Mhm.
were being treated, and now, my kids were also a little older. They weren't like 2 or 3.
Mhm.
My
Mhm.
son, well, he was like 6, but then, 7. Now he's 9. My daughter was 10 at the time, 10, 11 when it started,
Mhm.
and she saw a lot. She wasn't stupid. Like, she knew. And then all of a sudden, I'm being prevented and I'm being called crazy. The therapist, the judge was telling my children, your mom's crazy. They were saying, your mom needs to get well. Your mom's not well. And my daughter was like, what are you talking about? My dad's not well. Like, my dad's the one who threatens to put her in jail. My dad's the one who threatens, you know, says these horrible things. My dad's the one who's yelling at us. My dad's the one who's threatening me. If I don't do this, he's not going to allow me to see my mom. These are
Mhm.
things that are being told. Like, what are you talking about? You want me to believe this? You're paid to tell me this, but I don't believe you. I'm not, because I know what's being told. I know what's happening. Like,
Mhm.
and that's the crazy thing, that they think that they can really, there's some kids that are smart and they're like, oh, that's not, and then you deal with, there's some children, like I said, they're young, they're 3, 4, they don't really know what's really happening. And but yeah, that's what was happening. My to this day, my if you were to ask my daughter, she, no, you can't. There's no way. And I think what was happening, the more my daughter was fighting, the more I was fighting, the more the judge got more annoyed. They got annoyed
Mhm.
that they weren't, and so that's when she started to really put a lot of restrictions, like removing acts, removing phone calls, you know, uh,
Mhm.
and removing access to, if it's doctors or school, and it just, the more
Holidays.
everything, and then they just gradually remove more and more and more access, to the point where you have no access.
Mhm.
And then they put you on the spot saying, well, you could see your kids whenever you want. And I'm like, what? How is that even, like, what do you mean? If I could see my kids whenever I want, then I'll go. But you're not allowing me to do anything. You're taking everything away. You're putting these orders in. And if I don't follow these orders, I could be put in jail, or could put me, you could do whatever you want with me. Uh, what, what do you mean? You know, so so that's how they sort of get you.
Mhm.
That's how they act like, well, I don't know, you could, but no, you're putting me in a situation where I'm going to lose no matter what, you know. And then you could just quickly say, I'm going to change custody because I feel like it. I'm going to have,
Mhm.
he
Mhm.
filed some frivolous motion that there's no evidence to this motion, but he's filing this motion. And of course, a judge really needs to, they're supposed to address the motion. They're supposed to, and she's like, okay, so now I'm going to change custody because I feel like it.
Now,
So
when she did that, did he have family members behind him, sitting in the pews behind him? Did he
No,
have
I was not, no. Unfortunately, I actually even wanted a jury trial. It's like,
Mhm.
I was, denied that. I remember asking, some attorneys about that. And, I didn't really know the law, and so I kind of just went by whatever the attorneys would tell me. But no, there was no, he did definitely try getting my family involved and getting them against me. And there was a point where the judge took me in chambers. She took me in chambers off the record. And she's like, I think you're crazy. I think you're mentally ill or something. And she goes, doesn't your family think you're crazy? She like tried getting, he was trying to get my family involved to say, oh, look, her own family thinks she's crazy, to try to make me look like, um, but, but other than that, I mean, no, there was no like you said,
she
family to support, you were saying, you mean support him? Like, is
Yeah,
that what you
yeah,
were?
like his own
Yeah,
family
no,
members
I mean,
supporting
it was
him?
never, no. I mean, his
Mm.
family, his parents live in Florida, so they're not even in the States. So
Mhm.
unless they flew
Well,
in, I
her
think.
taking you into her chamber, she committed a violation. Did
Yeah,
did
I thought I was protected because I had my attorney with me. But, like I said, they all work together. They work with the judge. I remember that day I had a advocate from the Center for Safety and Change, and she was one of the newer advocates. She's actually a very good one. And I think knowing that this advocate was new to you know, to the Center for Safety and Change, she figured let me take her in the back and tell her this off the record. There's no stenographer there, no one's documenting this. This is in chambers. It's just. But I thought when I should have probably said no, I don't feel comfortable. And who knows, maybe she could have said, I'm gonna put she's done that. I'll put you in jail if you don't come, or if you don't tell me
Mhm.
this, I'm gonna put you in jail. So then, you know she's gonna do it. She's very, relentless like that. She's known to do, something. But at that point I thought, okay, I have an attorney with me. He's going to come in the back, and I have him there to when. But it was interesting. She says this, right? I find out, later on. I start asking around, like, hey, this is what she did. Do you think that's, people are like, no, it's, what she did was wrong, and blah blah blah. But when I called up my attorney and I was like, yeah, so I want to talk about what happened. You know what his response was? Oh, I have so many cases. I don't quite remember what was said. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Oh, man.
I'm
Did
like,
you
I
put that
pay you how much? And you're going to that's going to be your response? And
Oh,
so these were the
God.
mistakes I was making. And I think, I believe the judge knew that about me. I was a very, because I could get my emotions can get the best of me. And so, but I'm thinking, okay, I have an attorney here. I'm paying him. He's there to represent me. He's there to protect me. But unfortunately, that's not really the case.
Mm-mm.
They're not there to protect you.
No. No, your own attorney is not
Their
there to
job. I
protect
mean,
you.
I'm one of a million, thousands of cases they have. I don't really mean much to them.
Did you fill out an affidavit on everything that was said in those chambers between you and her?
I I didn't. I mean, at that time when that happened, that was around the time where then she said she was scheduling a a trial for custody, to change custody. So all of that was happening, like. But no, I mean, like I said, when I got that response from the attorney, his goal wasn't, to help me file an affidavit. He was like, well, no, 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 we can't do, they try to like, oh no, we can't do that, oh no, you can't do that. And I was trying to prepare for a trial, but then in the middle of the trial, it got costly. And then eventually at the end, I started to litigate my own case, my own trial. And
I would fill out an affidavit that what was said back and forth, because that would then submit it to the appellate and
well,
build
I
your
mean, that
record.
was the goal, was submitting that to the, like, I mean, that was when I was going to appeal everything. And like I said, now they're trying to dismiss the appeal. Um,
Mhm.
so, but yeah, I mean, like I said, you don't really get much with the appellate court because it's a process. I just filed something, and it's been 2 weeks, and I was just like, hey, what's going on? They're like, oh, it's still pending. It could take a while for a decision. And then, and then a month goes by, and then you get they email you the decisions, and then they tell you, oh, well, you got to do this, this, and this, and then you got to do this. Before you know it, 8 months go by,
Right.
or it's not like filing a motion in court and you're
Mhm.
being seen right away in front of a judge. It's very different.
Well,
But yeah, I mean, there's so many. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm at the point now. Look, I am now in the process. I am going to start doing things. I don't want to talk too much into it, but yeah, I mean, yeah, these are things now after the fact of getting more knowledge about what I'm able to do now or what I should have done, or um, how to move
but
forward with a lot of these.
perhaps you can amend your appeal and put that affidavit in there as an exhibit, because
Yeah,
that's like, first of all, if you're crazy, and if I was a judge and I think you're crazy, no way would I have you come back into my chambers, even with an attorney. Yeah,
I know, I know.
that's it. That's incongruent. And
I
she
mean,
broke a violation.
right? Yes, absolutely. But I don't know. What do you call crazy? I mean, we all have, I'm still just trying to comprehend the whole calling me like I'm crazy. I don't know what you mean I'm crazy. You're yelling at me. You're
Right.
attacking me, but you're calling me crazy? I don't get it.
Mhm.
You're telling
Yeah.
me someone, you had a communication ex parte, whatever, they say ex parte communication with someone.
Mhm.
Someone told you something that you now are telling me that doesn't your family think you're crazy? Where did you hear that? Because that wasn't said in court. My ex never said, oh, even her family thinks. No, that information was given to her, through either my ex-husband, his attorney, through the law clerk, someone, because I don't know where that came from. And what was her intentions to bring me back there? Because that's exactly what happened. She brought me back in chambers and was like, I think you're crazy. Doesn't your family think you're crazy? And you need to, and just started attacking me. I'm like, well, then
Mhm.
who sounds like the crazy one, you or me? Because
Yeah.
you're bringing me back here for whatever reason. And why are you telling me this? You could, when you could easily say it on the record out there in the courtroom.
Mhm.
I don't understand. Like,
Yeah,
so
what was the purpose of that? I mean, she didn't even need to call you back into chambers. I've never been
no,
called
there was no
into
reason.
chambers.
But I just
Yeah.
thought, I don't know why. I don't know. At the time, like I said, at the time I thought I had my attorney with me. He's there to represent me. He's there to protect me. I really was caught off guard when she came at me. I thought she was going to communicate more with the attorney. I don't know what I was thinking when she said, I want to talk to you in the back. I didn't know what to expect. I thought
Mhm.
maybe she was like, hey, listen, I don't know. I don't know. Um, it wasn't for very long, because at that point I wasn't gonna allow her to speak to me that way. I said, who's telling you this? I was like, is my ex-husband telling you this? I'm like, where are you getting this information that you're saying, making these allegations, and my family think, like, I was just like, I wasn't gonna back down. I mean,
Mhm.
it's funny when you see the court officers, they're like standing there like as
Mhm.
if they're gonna attack me. I was sitting
Yeah.
down calmly and I was just defending myself. I'm like, I don't know who's telling you this. I don't know where you're getting this information, but it's incorrect. No,
Mhm.
like, um and then I think when she realized she wasn't really getting anywhere, then
Mhm.
we went back out. I was like, okay. But
Oh.
unfortunately I wish that was on the record,
Well,
but it
you can
wasn't.
put it in affidavit and put it in the record.
Yes. Right. Right. Yeah,
That's what I would
absolutely.
do.
And that's definitely something to definitely, yeah.
'Cause, I mean, things that have happened in the past, go ahead, fill out an affidavit and add it to your record. keep telling the story,
So I
keep
want to tell
building.
you something. So because I'm pro se, I have to, and I have this gatekeeper now, and I have to, I have access to my NICEF account, and I'm the one who I have to, when I file things, you go through NICEF, and I had filed something in the appellate court, and the way you do that, there's a portal that you can file through the appellate court, but I try to document everything through in NICEF. So there's options that you can pick to file it and keep it on record. It's not filed through the Supreme Court or family court. It's on the record. So the opposing counsels and everyone who's part of the case has access to see, oh, look, she filed something in the appellate court of, a notice of appeal of this or a motion or whatever. And so it's documented that way. I can't document it through the Supreme Court by filing it through, but it's documented. And all of a sudden I get an
Mhm.
email saying that it was removed. So I called up the clerk's office and I get on the phone with this woman and I said, I had gone on my NICEF account and I put something on the record, just in my account just to have as record. I said, and I get this email that it was removed. I go, what are you doing? That's illegal. And she goes, oh, that was me. And she's like, yeah, you have a gatekeeper. You're not allowed to file anything. And I said,
Ah,
yes, I understand I have a gatekeeper. I said, but I wasn't filing anything in the Supreme or family court. I said, I was putting something on, for my records in my NICEF account, and you went ahead and you removed it. That's illegal. And she goes, well, I don't know what your gatekeeper says. And I said, well, maybe you should read it. And I go, and maybe you should know how to do your job, because I go, I didn't pay a fee. I didn't file anything. I put something on the record in my NICEF account. I said that I filed a notice of appeal. I filed something in the appellate court, and that it's in my NICEF. And she was like, oh, okay, 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 I'll restore it. I think, and I'm just like, wow. I'm saying to myself,
mm,
the, where the corruption. Like, I'm saying to myself, like, what is this woman doing? Does she even know what she's doing? Like, do they know my case? Do they obviously know me? Because I've been there a couple of times. I'm like, are they really trying to tamper with my account, and they're removing things, and I go, I can't even believe this is even happening. And for an employee that's been there for years, is how does she not know what I
ah,
just did or what she's did? Like, you're like, I think she realized afterwards when I explained to her what I did, and and how it's illegal, and that it's a crime. It's a, she just committed a criminal act.
mhm.
Um, she then all of a sudden was like, oh, okay, okay, I'm sorry, but um, right there I was like, I got to be very careful. These even the people, that the employees that work in the courthouse or the clerks, like, they will, yeah, they all know. It's almost like they get that email, keep
Yes.
an eye out on, so and so case, but yeah, I
Mm.
mean, even some things like that they try to do, I was like, I don't understand. And I said, and I'm not this, educated, smart, like, I don't consider myself, there's some people that really get to, these victims like me, they really get to learn the law, and they really be able to really litigate their cases, and they have so, but just something as simple as that. I mean, I knew right away. I was like, okay, something's happening. Like, these people are definitely tampering with with evidence. With, it's pretty scary. You
Yeah.
know, this is what my life has become. I can't even. I live in this community. I don't feel safe. Like, this is my NICEF account. This is my case. And you go in and you start tampering with my evidence. Like, I'm filing, I didn't file, like, I put something, so it's I don't know, unfortunately, it's pretty scary, like, that this is where my life has become, you know
Mhm.
you
Well,
feel like you're being shunned, shunned out of the community.
Mhm.
People start to, but like I said, my main goal are my kids. I'm not going to stop fighting.
Mhm.
I know I have rights. And that's
You
all
know,
we can
I'll
really do.
also start educating when people say, "Well, what happened to your kids?" That's what I would get all the time. "What happened with the kids?" And then I would just say, "They were legally kidnapped based on false accusations."
Yes.
I
And I
would
say
just
that.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, might as well. Here it is. And I also have 2 handouts from Dr. Childress that I give to people to explain child psychological abuse
Yeah.
so they can understand, even
And
more.
I've read him.
Yes,
I
yes.
read it. Yeah.
And, that's all we have to do is we have to start educating people to not go into family court. This is just terrible.
Yeah. Or just prepare, and unfortunately, I think that, and then you have to prepare them that no matter as hard as, no matter what you do, it's sometimes like, like in my situation, as hard as I was able to prove my mental state or my or any false allegations on me, anything, me as a mother, me as a parent, no matter what I did or what my kids, I there was it was a lose-lose situation. And the I think I would say that, I guess the best advice is just, you have to just keep moving forward and keep fighting and keep throwing out the law to them and keep saying and showing them all the unlawful things that's being done. And that's all you can really do. um I
I
have friends
agree.
that have been battling this for, like, God, this one woman that I've become friends with, 8 years. 8 years. I'm like, really? I'm only 3 years in.
Oh, no.
um yeah. I have friends that, their kids are already 18 and they're still battling it.
Mhm.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Well
now, I mean, with my situation, unfortunately, I have this judge is very corrupted.
ugh, yeah.
She's done a lot of unlawful things and just very, has damaged a lot of families.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
so, but
But I still would like to have you back on for more updates as things roll along, if you like.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, and I'll put in the podcast notes that you still want to be if anyone needs to reach you to find you on Facebook, you're on there, and I'll
Yeah,
put
I'm
that in
on.
there.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest. I
Okay.
few weeks, actually about a week ago, my phone got hacked.
Oh, no.
These are the things that, it's like, so I try to, yeah, so certain things I got to be careful, uh,
Well,
unfortunately,
that's
but Facebook is
oh,
like probably the easiest.
most definitely. Well,
Yeah.
don't jump off. Slam the
Okay.
Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again here with Antonella in the future and other exciting guests. Thank you again, Antonella, for sharing your story.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me
Definitely.
on your,
You'll be back.
yes.